I'm good.
Initially, Namaste, I'm Dr. Swati.
Hi.
Initially, I have created your flyers, so your picture and everything was there. And then it was replaced by Annie. But
Yeah,
I'm
it's
really, really
I was
happy to see you. Welcome to the session.
yeah,
Thank you so much.
it's all due to some personal
We can
we
understand.
can say we know.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Last time also I couldn't. This time also I couldn't. It's okay. There's no problem. Annie's better than me.
We have a long way to go, Elizabeth, so maybe next time.
Yes,
We are
yes.
not going to stop here.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Thank you so much. So let's start for today's sessions. Namaste. Welcome you all. Good morning, good afternoon. This is an immense pleasure on behalf of KAICIID International team and the team from India, KAICIID KFN India team. I welcome you all. Myself, Dr. Swati Chakraborty. I am your platform moderator and moderator for this particular session. International webinar on IRD and gender equality, SDG goal number 5. KAICIID. Who are the KAICIID? KAICIID is the only intergovernmental organization governed by religious representatives and dedicated to the facilitation of dialogue between different cultures and faiths. Its unique mandate allows the center to bridge the gap between religious leaders and policymakers in order to advocate peace and combat violent extremism. This particular approach is motivated by the belief that religious leaders and policymakers must work together in order to effectively address the many conflicts and problems in which religious identity is manipulated to justify violence. We equip religious communities with skills such as an understanding of policy frameworks, human rights, and sustainable development, while also training policymakers on religious literacy, interreligious dialogue, and inclusions. So, in this particular session, particularly conceptualized by Kenu Agarwal, she is esteemed KAICIID Fellow for the year 2019. This particular organized seminar, webinar, workshop, whatever we would like to say, it's more of a dialogue forum. This societal setup that we live in intends to ignore the needs of women from the dawn of time. Although the Constitution of India grants men and women equal rights, gender disparities remain same even in this 2021. Discrimination affects many aspects in the lives of women, from career development and progress, mental health disorders impact India's sex ratio, women's health, their educational attainment, and economic conditions. The development of society at any point of time in history and even in present can be measured by looking at the status of women in a particular society. Religion plays an important role towards religious, social, economic, and political activities that discriminate women. Though religion and sacred text contribute to bring gender equality, some of the religious practices are discriminatory. Let's have a session altogether how IRD and with the awareness of IRD, we can help bringing this gender equality. This webinar will be held to highlight various aspects of women empowerment in India and abroad, of young women in peace and harmony process. For today's session, we are delighted to have our speaker not only from India but from abroad. Gender equality through religion. That is very important aspects altogether. And in this way, we can have the session from Camelia Hamida. Camelia will talk about amplifying women religious in the traditions and how it would be related. Camellia is a very important person in my personal life, but she is a lecturer, a researcher, and training facilitator. She is founder of Madrasa Damai community located in Pati, Central Java, Indonesia, which focuses on promoting, educating, and training peace values for the ordinary people. For more than 3 years, she was a trainer and program coordinator of several peace building and IRD training, capacity building training, and TOT training for peace facilitator. One important component is teaching the value of understanding religious differences. For more than 10 years, she served as one of the board members of the www.presentvirtual.com with more than 10,000 daily visits. She is a speaker of several conferences and forums on gender, human rights, and different aspects related with IRD. She served as a lecturer in the Institute of Pesantren Matulai Fatah on several subjects, such as subjects on community development, community economic development, social development, and policy planning. Thank you so much, Camellia, for this particular session. We are looking forward to your presentation. Now the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Swati. Good morning. Good. And it's very honor for me to speak here. And there is a lot of face I have known before. Kino and Annie Thomas, Dr. Kanchan Mehra, and who else here? Professor Baharul Islam. It's nice to see all of you here. And should I share my screen? Okay, 1 second. Okay, I hope you can see my screen. Okay. Right. Today I'm going to share a story. Actually, I'm not going to deliver a speech, but it's about a story about a woman. But before my topic is on amplifying women religious and traditional actor in interfaith dialogue. Obviously, it's also in intercultural dialogue and also peace building. Why it is important? This is the one question we need to address, and we need to have a broader understanding why we need to amplify women religious and traditional actor as well as a woman voice on this area. So, second, I'm sorry because I'm not used to with Google Meet, so it's some. Okay, uh, can you see my next screen? Okay.
Yes.
Actually, when we talk about women and vulnerability, we see women are really uh, vulnerable in many cases. Like, for example, women and disaster. Who are the most vulnerable when there was a disaster? And also, when we talk about conflict, women and conflict, who are the most vulnerable when we talk about women and conflict? Women are the most vulnerable. Women, children, and we cannot imagine when there is a war. Uh, women always become vulnerable. What we call it, vulnerable victim or conflict. But at the same time, women also as a peacemaker. We will talk it later. And also when we talk about recently women and pandemic, if you see this picture, how the closure of school, work from home policy, and social distancing, it leads multiple burdens for women. Like for example, it leads into how women bear additional household burden during the pandemic, and also women are on the front line in fighting the coronavirus because if we see with the closure of school, working from home, and also social distancing, all activities are concentrating at home. So women are also getting more household burdens during the pandemic. And also during the lockdown, there is a report on increasing the risk of violence against women and girls. I think this not only in Indonesia, I think in any part of the countries also happen. And if you want to see more, you may click on the link I share here. There is a full report on that. So what is question? Why women religious and traditional actors are matter? I want to share you a story about the Congress of Women Ulama in Indonesia. It was in 2017. I think on that day, I was with Dr. Swati. We are doing some work on Colombo on that day. I could not participate on that, but those momentum time, it leads into important declaration about amplifying women ulama voice on many cases, on many woman problem. Why this is important? In my country, I will talk just in Indonesia, because more than 80% are Muslim. Uh, from based on pure research survey, Indonesian people see religion and all related aspects are the important, are still dominating the way of life and still dominating the way people are thinking. In this way, religion and tradition is still become the dominating the way people thinking. There is the recent survey from Pew Research Forum about how much how is the influence of religion on the daily life. So in this way, women ulama, because commonly sometimes the the subordination of women and any problem, sometimes they support, sometimes they're looking for religious justification for the woman subordination and that things on. In this way, this congress become the important moment when the start of woman empowerment, the start of echoing the woman voice based on religious tradition. So it means like contextualization about the religious tradition into to answer the woman problem. And the next slide is so there is an important question: why? Because if we say that religious and traditional actors have a unique understanding of the local context and community needs. Why? Because if we see that the religious and traditional actors, commonly the religious actors, they have more understanding about the local context and also what the community needs. Sometimes when there is a problem in a community, first of all, before they come to the like for the bureaucratic complaint, first of all they come to religious leader, to the closest religious leader, to share their problem, to share their grievance. So this become become important. The religious and traditional actor have a unique understanding. They have a more deep understanding about the local context and community needs. And also the second one, religious and traditional actors significant in peace building process is effective by the role as a link between grassroots actors and decision makers. Why? Because once, for example, when there is a conflict, and like for example when the decision makers they are maybe reluctantly or have late response on the conflict, sometimes not only sometimes, because I'm also doing the research on this, several potential local conflict among grassroots people being solved by by religious tradition and traditional actors. And this is why religious and traditional actors have significance in the role as a bridge between grassroots actors and decision makers. So once when there is a potential conflict, people come to religious leaders on a local religious actors or local traditional actors. They will say something, and in this way, these religious and traditional actors or religious and traditional leaders, they will become a spokesperson for the decision makers to do something. And also, the third one, the engagement on local administration, particularly in places where low or no government presence. I want to clarify this. No government present, which is mean when government have a slow response about the potential conflict. Sometimes, not only sometimes, commonly their engagement, the engagement of religious and traditional actors, provides a distinct community viewpoint through the provision of services, justice, education, conflict mediation, and security. I will I will say some story. There are some people who from some people who are having problem with the school of their of their son or their daughter, for example, because they cannot afford for school. So these religious leaders, they build an educational institution to uh, and accept this sort of students. So in this way, we see this is only one example. In this way, sometimes we see that how the engagement of religious and traditional actors they contribute toward education, toward justice, and also conflict mediation. And I want to share you one story from the field when I am doing my research about a village which is in one of my village, which is there is a multi-religious community living in the same village. There was some potential conflict among youth from different religion because they comes from different religious background. So the simple conflict, it's become very serious conflict. And you see what happened after that. The religious leaders from both religion, they discuss together, and on the religious what we call it, on the Eid, I mean we call it on Eid day, they exchange food, and they what we call it, and they invite each other for the religious celebration. And you see what happened with this gesture, the simple gesture, it leads into conflict mediation, and it leads into conflict prevention, into a more wider conflict. And those village. I call it Giling village. It was my recent research on that. And this village became an example of how interreligious harmony living together in one village. So we call it pro-existent living society. This is one of my research which has been published just 2 or 3 months ago. And also one important thing is why traditional and why religious and traditional actor matter. They can be acknowledged as a respectable mediators and leaders more than other actors. Why? Because people put respect on them and confidence they have acquired within their community. You see, if like a common people say something about, please don't create a conflict. If common people they don't recognize who is these people, so it will not lead any substantial impact for the conflict prevention. But one religious leader says something about conflict prevention because of respect they gain from the community, so it will lead into multiple effect because respect and confidence they have acquired and in within their community. This is in case of religious and traditional actors. But you see, unfortunately, these things commonly, very commonly, dominating by male religious and traditional actors. So this way we come to the topic. Sometimes when there is a conflict, when there is we come to the mediation table. Women are sometimes underrepresented because why? See the structure of the society. Sometimes gender differences have given rise to various gender inequalities, both for men and especially for women. So when we talk about gender inequality, actually we are not talking about women. We are not talking about women alone, but this also because the social structure has already uh, create like two different word between woman and men. So this sort of thing happen. So it's like embedded idea because of existing structural because of the existing structure in the society. So gender inequality is a system and structure in which both men and women are victim of the system. So the victim is not only woman, maybe woman more severe victim of the system, but it's also the victim is also male because male doesn't realize that this system is also leads into gender inequality. I hope it's clear. So we see that there are forms of gender inequality. There is some sort of marginalization. If you see from different point of view, there is some marginalization. For example, in a case of education, like for example, woman when in a family, for example, when in within a family, when there is a daughter and son, so once in the level of higher education or in university level, once even the daughter have more capability into to the have more potential capability. Sometimes family give more importance on son rather than woman. Because why? Because the idea is because the idea is like this: male are important because they will search they will serve as a leader of the family. This this sort of idea sometimes leads family to give more importance on their son, rather than their daughter, even if the daughter have more potential. This is one example of marginalization. I give only a simple example within a family, and also subordination, for example, in a workplace, when men and women are competing for some competing each other. So sometimes the company give more space on male rather than women. Because why? Because women, they will take like a paternal leaving, and this thing will uh, will create a problem for the company. And also stereotypes, labeling. See, sometimes we see that there is a stereotype like a woman should know about household issue, any household issue, and male, they should not. They should not they should not uh, engage in household, like domestic work. So this is become like a differentiation of of, of work between public and domestic. They sometimes have been structured within a society. And also violence and women also, because of their because of their nature, they also become very, what we call, very vulnerable to 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 become a target of violence, in any violence. So, and also double load, I call it a double load, because a double burden. You see, if you see this picture, how mother, by carrying their baby, they do a lot of things, from house chores and also working and things. Is also happening to me as well. Sometimes it's happening. So I like to see this picture, woman and IRD. This is the last day in KAICIID. This is the last day when we all women were gathered together and making a circle, and we hold our hand together. So this is a very important moment on the system society, when the society structure is not allowing, sometimes still not friendly to the problem of women. We need to work together. We need to hold our hand, and and create a support system for women to support each other, and not competing each other, but supporting each other. This is important because sometimes when we see this, when we talk about why religious and traditional actors is important, sometimes on this case, women, religious and traditional actors are not there. They are not there, and they need to be amplifying, to amplify their voice. And so this is important moment. I like this picture. So I want to seek quote from one of our hero in woman emancipation. It was in early 20th century. This Raden Ajeng Kartini. If you may googling on Google, she's a very important person, and we call it the lost hero. Why the lost hero? Because she wrote a letter about woman emancipation before she can taste before she tastes her struggle. She already passed away. So we see that religion, she said important things, that important message on one of her letter. Religion does keep us from sin, that how many sins do we commit in the name of religion. We have to be aware. Sometimes people, we don't know their background. Even sometimes even they have a religious background, but once they speak provocative in the name of religion, they actually just use religion to justify the the bad intention, their bad intention. So what we need in terms of how to amplify woman voice, so what important is we have to continuously build support system. Support system mean create advocating, keep advocating a policy which become friendly for women to gain their full potential, and also peer support, like what we are doing here is like it's one example of peer support, and also women support women, and building a collaboration. Collaboration means because doing work together, and also the important thing also engaging male gender activists. This is very important because once we talk about gender inequality, or once we talk about gender empowerment, when the forum is only among women, it's like we are echoing our voice within ourselves. So it's very important to engaging to also build a community for male gender activists who also help in amplifying woman voice from the male perspective, and also engaging religious and traditional actors. And I think this is the little things I share, and thank you very much. I come back to you, Dr. Swati. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Camelia. That's really an eye-opening starting for, and very, very mm, timely. We need to address this particular issues. The issue you have shared is very common in Indian scenarios. So we, as an Indian women, we can able to connect that how much it is our story. It is not the Indonesian, or it is not about a Muslim story. It is the women's story from all over the world. Thank you so much, Camelia, for this particular
Thank
session.
you.
And definitely, we will come back to you after finishing all of our speakers' talk. And we can have definitely some of the questions from the today's participants. So I'll come back to you. Uh, and our next speaker is our very own Dr. Kanchan. So I request Dr. Kanchan to, she already shared the particular presentation with me. Dr. Kanchan is very, very close to me. She's like my elder sister. So she will talk about the forbidden land, countering sex selective abortion in India. She is KAICIID Southeast Asian Fellow 2020, very current fellow, faculty in Punjab University, Chandigarh, social researcher and educationalist in gender and women's studies. Dr. Kanchan, now the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Swati and Kenuji, for giving me this opportunity. As Swati just told all of you that I'm just a current fellow, and still I'm not a fellow. But thanks to KFN to give me this opportunity to be part of this uh, webinar. Thank you so much. So, Swati, can you please share the screen?
Yes, yes. Just a minute. I think I have to share my entire screen then.
All right.
Yeah.
So my today's presentation is very much similar to what Camelia has spoken about, but it is just the beginning how these discriminations, these gender discriminations came into inception, how it hampers our society. So the topic of my presentation is Forbidden Land, Countering Sex-Selective Abortions in India. I would like to start my presentation with a quote from Sikh scripture, Guru Granth Sahib, that states, "So kyo manda aakhiye jit jamme rajan." That means, why to say or call her bad? From her kings are born. She is the one who gives birth to the kings, to the lords, and everyone, but still, she is the one who's the most vulnerable in our society. We all know that in the sex ratio condition in India and all over the globe. Next slide, please. I would like to just wrap up with just start with some few of the terminologies which come under this presentation. The sex ratio is the number of females per 1,000 male. Sex selection is a process which is carried out within two methods, that is pre-implantation before the before conception and post-implantation. In pre-implantation, the sex selection is processed by sperm sorting and pre-implantation genetic diagnosis method. In both techniques, sperm or Y chromosomes are sorted and implanted in the womb through IVF or in vitro fertilizations. Then we have post-implantation method. The sex of the child is determined through ultrasound or amniocentesis, which is very common, and the pregnancy with undesired sex is terminated. Next, Swati. Post-birth methods, in which we have infanticide, the killing of the infant of unwanted sex. To this, though this is illegal in most parts of the world, but it is commonly practiced in many cultures. And we have a story in Hindu mythology that Lord Rama's wife, Sita ji, was also found in a pot buried in the farmland, and her father, King Dashrath, found her from that land, and that was also said to be a case of infanticide. That is in Hindu mythology. So we have another form in post-birth methods, that is abandoning of the particular sex by the parents, either on the roads or to the orphanages. Yesterday only, I just read a BBC news where it was said that there is increase of 38% girl child in the orphanages, because the girl child, there are number of cases of abandoning the girl child. Most of the time, if the people have 2 or 3 girls, they generally don't want to take the responsibility of a second or third girl child. Then we have patriarchy. Patriarchy in general terms is explained, as we all know, patriarchy is the root cause of all these discriminations. It is a form of social organization where socio-cultural beliefs and patterns are accepted or supported to dominate women and children by the older or powerful men of the households. Some sociologists call it as rule of the fathers. And then we have gender discrimination. It is the discrimination against an individual on the basis of their sex, sexual identity, or sexual orientation, or gender identity. The other half of the world has been subjected to all sort of atrocities and abuses from centuries. As discussed by Camellia, it is not only in Indian context but all over the globe. Women, a birth giver, nurturer, caregiver, and the most importantly, a soul and heart of any household, is unrecognized for any of her roles. Sex selective abortions, they just, it is a newer term. They just came, it is a newer term of violence which just came into inception after the new reproductive technologies came into existence. Government reports and data are scaring us. Every day we read it in the newspapers, we so in the population surveys that the number of girls is decreasing. Men are outnumbering women in population surveys. The dwindling sex ratio and the question of missing girls is frightening not only the demographers, social think tanks, gender specialists, intellectuals, but now even the masses. But still, we are not ready to do anything for the favor of it. International organizations like United Nations and WHO are issuing warnings time and again. The United Nations has already recognized the phenomena of sex selection of babies before the birth as a harmful practice similar to the child marriage and female genital mutilation. In a report, in a report, the report published in 2020 by the UNPF states the preference of sons over daughters may be so pronounced in some societies that couples will go to great lengths to avoid giving birth to a girl or will fall to care for the health and well being of a daughter they already have in favor of their son. We can see that around in our society that the earlier speaker also discussed, even if we have a boy and a girl is more potential, since still the boy is given preference, the girl is denied all the uh, benefits of getting proper education or proper nutrition at home level. So we can see that even the recent data released by World Bank projects shows that decline in sex ratio in India is from 943 reported in 2011, and it is going to be decreased to 898 in 2021. It is a real scary scenario, and an overall reduction in youth population of the country is expected. While throwing light on the reasons for it is estimated a horrifying social, economic, and political consequences of same on society. How the situation is going to harm the social fabric is a vexed question. Sex ratio in India is becoming more male dominating in last few decades. It is witnessed that the imbalance in sex ratio evolves from having a strong desire for particular sex combined with the decline in fertility as well as the availability and accessibility of ultrasound scans during pregnancy that are mushrooming around rural and urban areas equally with fast pace in recent decades. We can see around the diagnostic centers coming up at a fast pace. Although India has enacted laws prohibiting the use of prenatal diagnostic techniques for gender testing, gender bias, gender selection, practices continues to dwindle the sex ratio. Though the instances of gender based biased gender selection are generally not recorded, but the number of cases can be estimated indirectly based on the observed deviation of existing sex ratio at birth from the natural levels of sex ratio at birth. The sex ratio at birth in India is very low, but not as high as some estimates suggest. It is estimated that due to gender bias, nearly 4 lakh female births in India are missed each year. We can see that dwindling sex ratio and the trends have been started in this century from 1901 to 2011 that needs attention and consideration of our government and all of us. The general sex ratio for the population is other measurement of long-term changes in the relative number of men and women in a population. This too has decreased substantially in India. From 972 it was in 1901 to 940 in 2011. Data released by the government in 2016 revealed that India's sex ratio at birth had fallen from 946 in 1949 to 887 in 2014. The lowest sex ratio, child sex ratio, is among the states in the northern states generally, in Haryana and Punjab, Jammu and Kashmir, UTs of Delhi, Chandigarh, Lakshadweep occupy the bottom position in census 2011. And to tell you, for the information of my foreign friends, the states of Punjab and Haryana are said to be the most affluent and well financially, economically wealthy people are there in Haryana and Punjab. So it has nothing to do with the economics or the education of people. Like I've just shared a census of India data, sex ratio of India from 1901 to 2011, and we can see that in 1901 we had 972 females for 1,000 males, but it got decreasing when we came to 2011, and it is estimated we are not having a census of 2021 reports, and I'm sure it is going to be more decreased. So what are the reasons? Probably we can see that if we go back to history or our religious scriptures, we can see that women holds a very subordinate position, the position which is like they are always ruled by the men as part of patriarchal mindset. This could be witnessed in the Indian historical text of Hindu mythology, that though women are worshipped as goddesses, we have Navratras where we worship the little girls. They are also worshipped as consorts of gods, but in actual their position in society is not very respectable. They are denied even the basic of privileges. A woman who bore a son has an elevated position not only in her own household but outside in the society as well, as compared to the women who has daughters or she doesn't have a child. In Hindu scriptures, we witness women being independent on her father or brother before their marriage and husband and son after marriage. This explains her positions as dependent member of the household, and independence is never enjoyed by her. Women are bound with the shackles of religious traditions and practice rituals, which forbids them from having liberated position. There are several fast and puja rituals. I can give you names, but I would not like to uh, hurt somebody's or anyone's religious sentiments by not naming those rituals. They observe fast and go without food and water for the well-being of long lives of their husbands and children, most specifically the sons. Such practices depicts eloquently the position what they hold in the societies, and women and inequities existence against her existence. Women are also objectified as seducer or distractor from the path of spiritual journey and salvation. We have many stories in Hindu mythology where women deities are sent to the rishis to break their process of tapasya, or what we call journey towards salvation. The history of India has also many excruciating stories of attacks by the foreign infiltrators. That period has also played a significant role for women and girl child aversion, as women were taken away as a war booty. They were raped, killed, or taken as sex slaves after victory. Even during interstate conflicts or battles, women or girls were gifted for peace or given away as wives. Patriarchal settings did not accept women as human beings, denying them even the simplest of pleasures that were rightfully theirs. Son preference or the daughter aversion is directly related to the patriarchal approach of almost all the societies. Girl child is considered to be a burden in our society, relating to her low economical independent status, arrangements of dowry for their marriage. As we all know that there is a tradition in Indian subcontinent, that is a dowry system which parents have to give to the groom's family, which is which is a burden on the families. So they think that girl child is a burden. They are also bearer of the honor of the family. If a girl by chance goes for a love marriage, or she goes marries against the wishes of their family, they are said to be a setback to the honor of that particular family. That is the main reason, or the violence against the women. There is a saying in the Punjabi literature that girls, they do not eat at night, but the only thing which we fear is her luck, her destiny. If somehow they are married into a family which is not taking care of them, or are not very supportive of their daughters, it is going to be a pain for the whole family, or it is going to be a dishonor for the family. And we all have seen that divorce, or if a daughter is sitting at home after marriage, it is a big setback for a family, for an Indian family. While in contrast to that, sons are considered to be important for the family, as they have a specific religious role in attainment of salvation of the parents. Like after the death of the parents, the last rites are done by only the son of the family or any male heir of the family. Daughters are not given that right in Hindu culture. So son becomes a very important member of the family, which is required for the parents to get them salvation after death. They are also said to be the carrier of the family name and carer of the parents in old age. Girls are not given that importance that they can take care of their parents. Now, as we all have seen that the sex ratio is skewed in India. So what are the consequences of these skewed sex ratios? We have social reasons which are consequences of skewed sex ratio. The declining sex ratio leads to more men, which threatens demographic stability. If we have more men and less of the women, it is going to lead to social evils like human trafficking, violence against women. And we have seen there are cases of importing brides from other states, as the marriageable men of these particular states, they do not get brides from their own neighborhood, and they have to go to the other states, or the buying of the brides is there, which results in exploitation of the women. And there is one more thing I would like to add. There is a different class of the offsprings which come as a result of these weddings or these marriages, that class is coming up, which is not acceptable by the society. The children of imported bride are not well accepted in the society in these particular areas. Those that class is also coming up, which is also another kind of exclusion. So these result in to number of exploitations. And we have economic reasons. Secure sex ratio is leading to the practice of, as I discussed, the bride purchase. Increased violence against women prevents their participation in the economic activities due to fear of violence. There are cases of increased law and order issues that affects the economic growth. And a politically declining sex ratio leads to less representation of women in policy making and lack of gender sensitivity. We all can do everything, we all can do our bit in curbing this menace, but state plays a very important role to come up with some solutions and lead to some uh, solutions. So we have state interventions in this case as well, like the Supreme Court of India, in response to a filed public interest petition, issued a directive on May 4, 2001 to all state governments to implement the Prenatal Diagnostic Techniques Regulation and Prevention of Misuse Act promptly and effectively. Though this act was enacted was in 1994 and brought into operation in January 1st, 1996. According to this directive, all bodies under the PCPNDT Act, namely genetic counseling centers, genetic laboratories, genetic clinics, cannot function unless registered. The Prenatal Diagnostic Techniques Prohibition of Sex Selection Act 2003 specifically prohibits the use of new technology for the purpose of sex selection. The Municipal Corporation of Mumbai and many other in the country has initiated a drive against unauthorized determination of the sex of the fetus. It is required for all sonography ultrasound centers get themselves registered with the appropriate authority and must display a message that under no circumstances will the sex of the fetus be disclosed. Though these days we can witness the display messages against sex selection, sex selective abortions, or value of a girl child are hanging around the walls of almost every diagnostic center or clinics. Still, the sex ratio and missing girls definitely needs a deep probe. And we can see that it is still around in every nook and corner of the country. We have several schemes run by our government. One of that is Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. It was launched in 100 general district, critical districts in partnership with Ministry of Women and Child Development and the Ministry of Human Resource Development. The overall goal of the Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao scheme is to celebrate the girl child and enable her education. The objectives of the scheme are to prevent gender bias sex selective elimination, ensuring survival and protection of the girl child, ensuring education for every girl child. There are several other schemes under the National Health Mission like Janani Suraksha Yojana, Janani Shishu Suraksha Yojana, 108 Ambulance Service, 104 Health Helpline, weekly iron and folic acid supplementation programs, etc. are notable initiatives which would improve the health status of the women and children in the country. We also celebrate January 24 as the National Girl Child Day. It has been declared in 2009 by Ministry of Women and Child Development to celebrate a girl child and bring awareness towards the issue of declining sex ratio. A new sex scheme, care and protection of girl child, a multi-sectoral action plan to improve child sex ratio with a comprehensive approach in a well-coordinated and strategic manner by multiple stakeholders at different levels to arrest the decline and significantly improve the child sex ratio in most critical 100 districts, with adverse CSR spread across 12 states as a special intervention is being formulated by the Ministry of Child, Women and Child Development. As a part of awareness campaign, religious and spiritual leaders have been approached to speak against sex selection. Video spots on girl child and sex selection aired on national and private television networks. Brand ambassadors have been used for the government's Save the Girl Child campaign. Named Atamja, a serial on the plight of the girl child, has been telecast on the national network. And similar has been done in Punjab under the initiative named Nani Chao. So my closing expressions for the this issue, which I called a pandemic, it is high time for all of us to awake, be aware, and act to resolve the outcomes of this pandemic-like situation. The mindset of people and medical professionals is need to be changed. It becomes pertinent to create a socio-cultural setting that is conducive and favoring for survival of the girl child. Then only we will be able to provide them a ground to grow in a healthy environment. Let these wonders be born and give them a chance to live up to their full potential and bloom for a beautiful and egalitarian society. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kanchan, for this mesmerizing presentation with lots of statistical data, because with facts and figures, we can have the entire idea of the particular scenario that is can able to see by everybody with the appropriate measurable amount, because that is what we need as a researcher for any particular research. We need facts and figures with the uh, findings. So I have just one observation and questions that how would you think that IRD has been important tool to motivate the young, the youth, to have a better society for women, to create women equality in particular context with Indian scenario? You can think about it, and at the end, you can have the answer. So again, I'm repeating myself, and I would be very happy to see so many young and fresh faces with us. I request all of you, please raise your question in the chat box, whatever is coming into your mind. It could be a silly question, but don't think it's a silly question because it could be important to others. Raise your question in the chat box so that our speaker can able to answer you in appropriate way. Now I'm coming to our next speaker. So our next speaker, she would talk about women and the church. That will be addressed by Annie Thanjan Thomas, representative from Women Commission, Archdiocese of Delhi. Annie did her studies from Convent of Jesus and Mary College, Central Institute of Education, Delhi University, and pursued Masters in MPhil from Madras University. Her teaching stint started in 1985 from Convent of Jesus and Mary, Delhi. After working for many years in various parts in India, she joined the Ministry of Education, Kuwait, where she was posted for 2 years. She took up the position of vice principal of the Savadama World School in Kerala before returning to Delhi. She has been teaching English in Holy Child Auxilium School, Vasan Vihar, for the past 10 years. She has working freelance for All India Radio and an avid book lover, traveler, and artist. She is at present a member of Delhi Archdiocese, Dwarka Parish. Thank you so much, Annie, for accepting our invitation to become a speaker for this particular session. Annie, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. And I am so honored to be part of this group. It's the first time I'm interacting with most of you all, but it's a wonderful experience that I've had till now. And I hope what I'm sharing would, give you something to think about and something to do. And it sort of would ignite a flame in especially the young people. So I will start by sharing my screen, and I will be showing you actually for a few seconds, maybe half a minute. I'll be showing you something which maybe many of you have not seen. Now, what I'm sharing with you is a dance. Okay, so I want you to just see this, and I'll tell you about the dance as time goes.
മേൽത്തോന്നും മേനിയും തേதை പിടിത്തതണ്ടും കൈയും മേയും എന്നേക്കും വാഴ്കവേ തേதை വാഴ്ക വാഴ്ക നമ്മുടെ പരീക്ഷയെല്ലാം ഭൂമിയിൽ തേதை വഴിക്കുറായി നടക്കവേലി വന്നവരോ നാമെല്ലാം തേதை അഴിമുകാലം വന്നടോ.
Okay, so I'm stopping that from, and I'll talk about this dance in my presentation. I'm going to start my presentation now. I hope you can all see my presentation. I hope I'm visible. Okay, so the topic for my talk is women and the church and the special role of women as leaders. The first slide is actually a click from a place in Kerala where Saint Thomas, who was an apostle
And,
of...
sorry to interrupt you, but your screen is showing the YouTube only.
It's not... Wait, just a minute. I'll stop sharing and I start sharing again. I think that would be better.
Yes.
Okay, so I will share again. Okay, I'll share again. This is the presentation. So sorry. I hope you can see it now. Is my presentation visible?
Yes, it's coming.
Okay, so this is the topic, women and the church, the special role of women as leaders. This is a small click of a picture. The picture which shows you is the place where the Apostle Thomas, who was a disciple of Christ, and it is believed that he came to India in AD 52, soon after the death of Christ. He came, and there were many early Christians as well as middle-age writings referring to the visit of this apostle to India. So this was like way back, even before Europe had become Christian. So this is way back in the first AD. The next picture which I'm showing you is a click of the dance which I had shown you. Marco Polo, when he visited South India, even in the late 13th century, he refers to seeing Christians in places called Kollam and Malabar. This is in the southernmost end of India. Now, I will draw your attention to the dance which I showed you. It's a very rare dance. I don't think many of the Indians themselves have seen this dance. But I will draw your attention to the kind of clothes these women are wearing. It is a typical dress or, kind of costume that the Christians would wear. And the dance which they're doing is very similar to another dance which is done by the Hindus of the same region. It is very similar to that. Only the difference is that this lamp which is kept here has got a cross on it. Okay, so it is an Indianized form of Christianity, and the song that they are singing is considered to be the exploits of Apostle Thomas, and it was carried on as an oral tradition. And it was only in the early 20th century that people started actually writing it down, because they didn't want it to get lost. And the only music they will use is just symbols, nothing else. And the next point which I would like to draw your attention to is the fact that Christianity, when it first came to India, came to the southernmost tip of India, where it was matriarchal kind of society. It was not patriarchy over there. The Nair society of Kerala, even now, are matriarchal. Okay, so when Christianity first came to India, it sort of became like a very eclectic mix of traditions and the clothes, the language. So actually, when Marco Polo came to South India, he was quite surprised to see that there were Christians already here. And Pope Francis has noted that in India, even after many centuries, Christians are a very small proportion. The proportion in India, they're only 2.4% of the entire population of India. And the fact that each area of Christians, they dress differently, they speak differently. If you look at the Christians of Jharkhand, you have a lot of tribals there, so they speak different language, they dress differently, the dances are different. Or if you go to the northeast of India, the way they dress, the way they sing, it's all different. And I'm sure if you go to Africa, if you go to Nigeria, the way they sing, the way they dance, the way they dress, even though they're Christians, they all Christians do not have any one kind of dress that they wear, or any one kind of language that they have to follow. So they sort of blend in with the nature or the environment of that place. Another thing which I would like to say is, I would add to what Dr. Kanchan had mentioned about the ratio, the female and male ratio of India. Kerala, this is the southernmost tip of India, is the only place in India where the ratio of women and men, according to the census of 2021, is 1,084 women for every 1,000 men. And one of the reasons which they say for this is the education which is there in that part of the country. Now, the next thing which I would like to talk about is how in the early centuries of Christianity, there's evidence of a great deal of activities by women in the life of the congregations which were starting, this early Christian communities. And women also served as deacons. Deacons are, lesser priests. And there were ladies who were of means, who were rich, and they could act as the financiers of the various activities which would be done. This is in the early Christian era. This I'm talking generally, not only of India, all over the world. Women probably constituted the majority of Christians, and I think it is true even now. If you go to a church, I think you would find more women than men. Blaney notes that by around 8300, women had become so influential in the affairs of the church. Nevertheless, by the close of the patriotic age, a male hierarchy had established itself over church affairs, with priests and bishops running the congregation. So the women were slowly pushed away from participating in the religious functioning of the daily life. Okay, now what happened is, slowly, with the backdrop of the Industrial Revolution in Europe and the expanding European empire, there was a number of notable educational and nursing religious institutions that were established by or for Catholic women. This was in the 17th and 19th century. We have Florence Nightingale as one of the main, names which we all remember, Christian women started playing a central role in the developing or the running of many of the modern world's education and health care systems. And during that time, when Europe was expanding its colonial grip over the world, many of these nuns and nurses came to different parts of the world, and they came to India as well. This, of course, is a little bit of my past. This is the school where I studied, and it was started by Irish nuns in the year 1842. That is even before the sepoy, the first revolt against the empire. So they started it long time back. So for as much as early 20th century, Catholic women continued to join religious institutions in large numbers, where their influence and control was particularly strong in running the primary education for children, high schooling for girls, and in nursing, hospitals, orphanages, and aged care facilities. And it sort of started influencing the women who were coming in contact with these women, the women who were going to these schools or were getting treated in the hospitals, and they could see the work that these women were doing, that they slowly also started getting inspired by this. Now, I'm born and brought up as a Catholic, so I'm speaking more from the Catholic point of view. Here I've got two examples. Catholicism has got this thing of having saints. They would beatify and then give sainthood to certain people. And we talk about these people. We share their ideas with our children, with our students, and they're discussed every day. And it's something which could discuss openly. Now, one of these saints, she's not very not very well heard of other than in Catholic circles, and her name is Laura Vicuna. And she's a Chilean girl. She was from Chile, and she was beatified by the Roman Catholic Church. She was also the patron saint of Argentina. She's the patron of abuse victims because she herself experienced physical abuse. Now, when you are talking to young girls and you're talking about a saint, you talk about her life and what she went through and how she handled that. So it becomes a learning experience for young girls. The next, of course, is Mother Teresa. She's, of course, now Saint Teresa of Calcutta, though we still love to call her Mother Teresa. She's the founder of the Missionaries of Charity. And we all know she was a Yugoslavian who had come to teach in India. And when she saw the state of the poor in India, she decided to become a nun. She was well into her 30s when she actually became a nun. So when we talk about women, to within our families and with our with our congregation or sisters or even the men in our families, we can discuss these things because we have got examples, and the church has actually sort of given us them as examples to follow. So these are just two examples which I have got. Over here, you can see the pictures of some religious heads. They're women, but they're not there in Catholicism. We don't have them in our Catholic Church. It is still very patriarchal. Okay, so but in many Protestant churches, they have started having women as their priests, as their deacons. In Catholicism and the Orthodox Church, we are still adhered to a very traditional gender restriction on orientation to priesthood. Okay, though orientation of women in Protestant churches has in recent decades become very common. It's become increasingly common. In the Catholic Church, even though we don't have any women priests, but we do have, like you can see this girl over here, we do go to the altar, we do readings, we do give talks. We have young girls who help with the whole ceremony. We also have women who, or nuns, or even lay women, who also participate in distributing the Holy Communion. So that is something which was still now restricted only to the priestly class. But in Catholicism, we have started with that even a lay person, even a woman, can actually give the Holy Communion to the other people. So that is one change in the Catholic Church. Now this is I don't want to confuse in the different kind of layers we have in the Catholic Church, but the fact is that when communism first started and when USSR first started, they based their entire political division of labor according to the Catholic Church. The pyramid of the duties were actually made exactly like the Catholic Church. So that is how well tiered the Catholic Church is. So this just shows you the different groups which we have. And the last, of course, is the laity. Laity stands for the people, and we are the base of this entire structure which we call the Catholic Church. The laity, I won't go into details, but the normal people who are there, they divide it into parishes. Like I belong to the Dwarka parish, so you have areas which are divided, and you'll have one church, and everybody who come under the church forms one parish. And then each parish also has got smaller groups like SSC groups, etc. Apart from that, each parish has groups that look after various facets of the socio-religious life of the church. That means you have like the parish council, which is very important. They look after the running of the church. Then you have the Vincent de Paul Society, which is basically does a lot of charitable work and a lot of collecting old clothes, giving it to the poor, giving ration, doing all those things. Then you have youth groups. You have a lot of young people who they have prayer meetings, they play football, they sing songs, they go out together. So you have that. You have people who are not interested in all that but would like to pray. Then you have prayer groups. Those who like music, you have choir groups. Then you have the Catholic Association, you have the Legion of Mary. And most importantly, we have got something called the Women's Cell that is there in each parish. Now, what is a women's cell? Women's cell is a collection of women within that parish. Sometimes some women don't join, but a majority of the women like to join the women's cell. What is important about this is, if you look at the structure over here, the parish council is the one which looks after the running of the day-to-day affairs of the church. But if you are let's say office bearer of any of this group, you could be a 18-year-old college girl, but you are the head of the youth group, you will automatically be part of the parish group. The leaders of the women's cell of the parish automatically part of the parish council. Therefore, any problem the youth is having, any problem the women are having, they will put it across to the parish council. So this is something that, even though we can say during the mass, it's only the priests that we're doing, the women and the youth have a say in how the things are being run in the church or in the religious part of their life. Okay, so this of course is the logo of the Women's Commission. I would just like to say that Women's Cell is there all over India. Okay, in different parishes there's small groups of women, and they call different things. We like to call them Women's Commission or Women's Cell, or in depending on where you are, they're also called Amma Sangam. That would mean a group of mothers. Okay, so these are the mothers of the parish. So this is the logo of our Women's Commission, and I have come here as a representative of this. this is some of the work that the Women's Cell or the Women's Commission does. You can see behind in this picture, you can see Elizabeth Ma'am, of course, and you have Dr. Susanna also standing there. We give talks, we hold talks on constitutional rights, legal awareness. We put up health checkups for all, especially the women. We have eye camps. We have checking of bone density. You have gynecologist visits. We also have, people coming to talk to them about their legal rights, people talking to them about family courts, and they are held in a very openly, like we are given a hall or we're given a place. We are never told, no, don't do this. As a church, even though we can say that it's a very patriarchal kind of a church where you have only the priests and the men who are doing the religious portion, but apart from this, women are given a lot of support, because if we do not get the support of the husbands, the family, we would not be able to do this. And another thing which I would like to say in this, in the women's cell which we have in each parish, you have a cross section of women. We have a cross section of women. We have doctors like Dr. Susanna, she's a doctor. Then you have Elizabeth Ma'am, she's a teacher. We have lawyers. We have housemakers, homemakers. We also have daily wage laborers. We also have old senior citizens. Women who are old, women who are alone. So we have a cross section of women. So what happens is that the women who are aware of things, they bring it to the notice of the whole group. We are like a sisterhood of women, and whenever we feel that there is somebody who actually needs help, then we try to arrange for something. For example, the checking of the bone density, because as you know, women, as they get older, you get osteopenia or osteoporosis, and there are many women who are not aware of it. So we held these camps. We also held things, about legal rights, and even things a little bit about banking as well. We get people from the bank to come and talk to the women so that they're aware of these things. And this is a picture of one of the talks. You can see how spellbound the women are, and they love to come to these meetings because they come to learn, and they learn something which is very new, and they are exposed to thoughts, ideas, which maybe in their daily life they are not able to access. Some of them, a lot of things are beyond their access, and when they come to a meeting, they love coming to this meetings when it's held, because they learn something, they gain something which they didn't know before. This is some of the competitions which we hold for our young children, and you can see the titles of poster making. An equal world is an enabled world. So we try to impart to the women about gender equality, and this permeates to the children, and we allow them and give them a space, because some of them may not get an opportunity in the schools, because some of the schools are very crowded. Some of them do not get an opportunity to show their skill or to show their art. So we give them a chance in these little forums which we have. And of course, this bright young girl, I wish we had the tape of what she spoke. She actually spoke. She's a very young girl. She, I think, just 14 years old. She spoke so with such gusto. She spoke about gender equality, things which we as women sometimes we might hesitate to speak. You have these young girls speaking with such passion. So these are the kind of people which we'd like to get into our fold, that they can help even their mothers to come out of a very shadowed way of living. Of course, we organize a lot of things for the parish, fetes and competitions, social evenings for senior citizens of the parish as well. And this is, of course, we had a march. We actually marched through Connaught Place. Okay, so that is like the center of Delhi. And we had put up these tableaus about, education of women and encouraging girls. You can see this girl, she's part of the NCC, to join the armed forces, to join the police, and to join the air force and army. So, and also about education. So we actually marched through Connaught Place. So you can see Elizabeth Ma'am is here, and some of us are here, and we really found, and we had a lot of women. They put up tableaus, they were singing songs, and it was really very exciting that we had women dressed in various outfits of professions. They were sitting. I'm sorry, I don't have a photograph of that. They were actually behind this. They were all dressed up in the various costumes of various professions that women can take. Then you have training of women. We would uh, allot people to teach things in the various parishes. And we believe that one of the reasons why women are suppressed, or there is such a strong hold of patriarchy, is because of their lack of financial freedom. So there are a lot of women who are not financially free, because sometimes their husbands do not want them to go out and work. So we try and help them out in suggesting what they can do, where they can add a little income even if they're sitting at home. It gives them a lot of self-worth. They feel as if they can do something. They feel much more powerful than if they were not economically independent. This is one of the classes going on. Um, we also have talks by young achievers and women who have proved themselves as inspiring leader, where the late Mrs. Sheila Dikshit, who had come to speak to the women. We also had IAS officers, police officers, who would, and even army personnel, women, just like young women who are there to come and see them, who would talk to the others and tell them how they achieved what they achieved, despite the different odds they had to fight against, and how the audience themselves can also inspire to be this. And this is witnessed not only by the women, but also by their children. We also allow the children, the young girls, to tell them to come with the young girls. And we also had a competition for the boys. In fact, they put up a play called She Is My Sister. So they had to put up, and we had competitions which they could participate in. uh, we also organize pilgrimages and well deserved picnics and games, and these women simply love it, because very often some of them are not able to go out as such and have fun. So we do arrange for picnics, little pilgrimages. They love to come for little pilgrimages to nearby basilicas or Sardana or little places like that. And also games and little picnics and stuff like that. Together with, we will also put a medical camp, so that while this is going on, some of them get their eyes tested or general medical checkup done. So this is how we make them feel that it's, we entice them to come, and then we sort of tell, while they're enjoying, we also educate them. Of course, these are our wonderful planners. They do a lot of planning, and they help out a lot in whatever is being done. This is another thing which I would like to highlight, that during the COVID, where we couldn't have these meetings, of course, we used to have prayer meetings. Together with that, we also had various talks, and we also had talks which were, we got experts who would come and speak to the women about child abuse, about human trafficking, and make them aware of a lot of things that they would otherwise not be aware of. And in a way, COVID helped us, like we are having a webinar just now, and people from all over the world can actually participate. In the same way, we were able to unite, the women and tell them these things. We also have this encouragement of reuse, recycle, and to protect our environment. And the Women's Cell, the Women's Commission, uh, you know, uh, is very active when it comes to this. These are just some of the pictures. They're little movies and all, which I don't think have the time to show. So I am just basically showing some of the pictures which we have over here. Uh, in our own parish, some of us did try and save a pond which we had near our house. And the I stay in a village. It's a small village. It's an urban village where I live. And it was the men of the village who were against us doing it. And they created quite a bit of ruckus. They put up a lot of barriers for us, and we had to sort of retreat from what we were planning to do. Though some things, the women of the village themselves, they got together. They were able to clear up some rubbish dumps. And it was something very exciting for us to watch women in action. These are from various parishes. We have this thing about recycling of waste material, even things like computers and old television sets, where you have in different parishes, you keep these garbage bins. And once it is full, we call people from these recycling groups and tell them to take it away. Then also you have these planting sessions, which where we plant herbs and other things. This of course is of Goa, where they were planting rice in the parish areas. Leadership is about making others better as a result of your presence, and making sure the impact lasts it's in your absence. I'm stopping my sharing here, but I would like to add over here, especially about my village. I stay in a Jat village. So I think only people of North India would understand what a Jat village is. They are very loving people, but they're also very hot tempered people. So I sort of call myself half Jat, though, even though I'm from Kerala, because I live in the village. And as I told you, we had a very large uh, you know uh, dump over there, open dump, where people used to come and just sort of sling their garbage over here. And from the Women's Cell also, we tried very hard. We used to get that area cleaned. We used to put up big notice boards. NDMC, that is New Delhi Municipal Corporation, also used to put up big posters saying not to put garbage here, and it never worked. It never worked because the men of the village were not bothered. We tried very hard, but I think the women of the village, they saw that, us walking around getting it cleaned and stuff, that ultimately we had this band of about 5 or 6 village women. And they are my friends, okay, though we look very incongruous. And they decided, they said, we are going to get this area cleaned. And they put chairs in front of the garbage dump. And I would also sit with them, and we would hold vigil. And they would actually sit with what you call lathis, which are actually bamboo poles, rods. They would sit with that, and they would be 2 or 3 at a time, and I would go and sit with them, because it was really fun being with them. And I still remember, you would have these very unsuspecting men coming with garbage, so that they'll come and just sling it and go away. And they would see some 2 3 old women sitting in the corner, not realizing that the moment they would come near this place to throw the garbage, these women would start abusing them in very horrible abuses, and start waving these lathis. I think it was such a entertaining time. And to see these men scuttling away, running away, and it was such a sight to see. And it was the women who did it. It was not the men who did it. It was the women who did it. And they got that entire garbage area cleared. They've made it into a park right now. And it was such a wonderful experience to mix with those women. And though I look very awkward sitting with them, but I think the women's commission's work, because is to watch Elizabeth ma'am, Leelama ma'am and me walk around there trying to get the area clean, that they felt that they should also do something. So I feel that the women, even though we might not have a lot of power in the religious their activities, as women and as leaders of the household, we are very powerful. And if our daughters and our sons witness the way we handle things, I think our work is half done. Thank you so much for giving us a patient hearing. Thank you so much. Namaste.
Thank you so much, Annie, for this insightful talk regarding your own experience. And it's been really, really, when I'm going to hear you and you shared the particular video starting with your lecture, I was very, very excited to see that how Hinduism and Christianity have been taking their journey together. That's totally unknown to me. I think most of you who are participating here today, they don't know about it. Thank you so much for particular and starting. And I wish you all the best for this journey that you have been created. And it's my great pleasure that I'm moderating this session. I'm feeling very honored today to have you with us. Now I'm going to our fourth speaker, last but not the least, our very own, very special Miss Kenu Agarwalji from Delhi. And she is the key speaker, I would say, the creator of today's session. The entire concept has been created by Kenu Agarwal for today's session. She will speak about women in leadership role. Kenu Agarwal is KAICIID International Fellow, Vice President Communities in Transition USA. She is a social, spiritual, and political activist, born and brought up and educated in Delhi. She is well aware of different social, religious, educational, economic, and political problems and requirements of the people. She already wrote a wonderful book on the IRD. If you are interested, Kenuji would definitely share the link if it's available online. I'm sure she will guide us on this. Kenuji, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Swati, for moderating the session and giving me the opportunity to talk. Today, I'll be speaking on women in leadership role. And what is the importance of women as leaders? We have already seen. We have seen how Annie, with a lot of other women, could change the atmosphere around her. And we have also seen how Kanchan, she's dealing with an issue which is very relevant in present times, and also Camellia. So, first of all, I would like to talk about what is the need of women leadership. Women leadership and gender diversity in modern world is increasing, but the representation is still very low. The underrepresentation of women in the boardroom, politics, peace building, and social welfare activities is a problem that need to be tackled. Having more female leaders is important because female leaders change the conception about who can lead and what qualities are necessary in a leadership position. Women in these types of roles break down barriers and show everyone what women can achieve. Despite decades of campaign by the agencies like United Nations who work for the welfare of women population is still largely not able to find space in the task-making process, in the peace-building process, or in the leadership positions. In other words, while there continue to be multilateral and multinational efforts that are targeted at conflict resolution and peace building, hardly has there been any incidences where space has been yielded to women to contribute their own quota, even though they constitute the greatest sufferers of conflict situation. There is a need for more women leaders and peace builders across the world. There is still a long way to go before we achieve United Nations Sustainable Development Goal related to gender equality and women empowerment. We see many women KAICIID fellows here. We women KAICIID fellows from different parts of the world launched the program Empower Her, supporting young women to shape the Interfaith Dialogue Sphere at Parliament of World Religions 2021 on October 17, with the aim to involve more women in the process of peace building and leadership roles. At Parliament of World Religions, I concluded with Mahatma Gandhi's statement, and I would like to begin here today with the same statement. India's salvation depends on the enlightenment of women. Women are the true incarnation of non-violence. Mahatma Gandhi recognized that women would emerge as leaders of the society because of their high moral values guided by non-violence and truth. The need for more women leaders has never been more critical, and there is never-ending catalogue of data to support this claim. Studies have also outlined that companies and organizations with greater gender diversity, not just within their workplace, but directly among senior leaders, are significantly better achievers. Here I would like to discuss how women leaders will make the social, political, and economic setup more inclusive, creating a better workplace. Women as leaders provide a different set of skills, imaginative perspectives, creative, unique transformational ideas, and importantly, structural and cultural differences that drive effective solutions. There is a need and responsibility for creating better policies and opportunities for women. Women leaders demonstrate more contingent reward behavior than the two-dimensional action, the active and the passive presented by male leadership. Women are also able to make bold and wise decisions. This helps make the team environment less authoritative and more cooperative, bringing a family-like feel in the team. This boosts teamwork across the organization and helps implement a new work culture. As we see, women demonstrate superior leadership values. Mostly women are more honest than men in terms of intelligence. They are smarter, they are more dedicated, that's what I feel. They are more dedicated, compassionate, outgoing, and creative. Communication is among a women's strongest skill. Female leaders will utilize their power to enhance meaningful conversations, thus creating an open communication stream that creates a sense of clarity. Women are known for their multitaskers. They have the ability to wear many hats. You can find them often balancing careers, households, social responsibilities. In India, we see they maintain relationship with the big joint families that we have. These combined skills help women leaders to quickly adjust to the new situations and focus on finding solutions to real-life work issues. Women leaders can also provide better mentorship, especially for the younger generation. Regardless of a person's gender, all people need someone who will guide them to progress their careers. Especially for mentoring and coaching young talents, women leaders are better than men. If you make your way to the leadership position, as many of us has made it, mentor the other women in your organization and allow their creativity and ability to be put to good use. Remember, you earned that spot, so be confident and inspire other women to do the same. Although women have emerged and they are already also emerging as leaders, they have to face many challenges. The first and the most obvious challenge is that most of the people in the room are men. But this creates an opportunity for women to stand out and create a long-lasting impression. A scenario that appears time and again revolves around building a supportive network in a space that males dominate. Use this chance to seek both men and women as connections and mentors who will help you along your career path. Often with a full-time role, coupled with additional stress of raising your own family, it can be hard to juggle work alongside personal life. However, both men and women are, however, the pandemic has taught us anything. It is to create a healthy work-life balance. The sad nature for a lot of women is that sometimes expectations are very set very low for them, but we can also use this as an opportunity, and we can exceed the goal that has been set for us and show the world that is dominated by men that we can also achieve big targets. So use that as an opportunity and not as a uh, taboo that the goals are set low for us. In India, women also have to face some more challenges, like sometimes they are not financially strong, they are not educated, they are, whenever they want to become a leader, the males dominate them. But some of the women have not stopped because of these challenges. They have still emerged as great leaders. Education, employment, and empowerment are the three vital weapons in ensuring the progress of women, who in turn will play their role to free the world from violence and war. It is through education and resilience women can find true liberation and get rid of the patriarchal structure which is imposed on them from birth. Here I would like to quote United Nations because we are all into the process of peace building and harmony. And United Nations has often emphasized the role of women in the process of peace building. Women have a fundamental right to participate in all political decision making, including peace processes at all levels. Including women in peace process adds a broader range of perspectives and enhances the ability of peacemakers to address the concerns of a wider range of stakeholders, which has been proven to lead to more sustainable peace. Yet, women are often underrepresented or excluded from the official process of peace building. Therefore, mediators need to promote understanding among conflicting parties of the value of participation of women in the process of peace building. Women are the backbone of our culture and social system. Without women, there is no peace. They possess the capacity to transform the society into desirable direction. Women are the significant players in the process of change and development. They constitute half the world's population and are the true strength of the nation. And we have to realize that strength and also make other women, especially the young women, realize this strength. Women were often viewed as personal property and listed alongside lands, livestock, and other assets owned and cared by men. But this rampant discrimination did not stop some brave women of the past to rise against the entire society, if needed, fight for their own basic human rights. When they fight for their own rights, they end up fighting for the rights of other women also. I would like to mention here a few mass movements in India that were led by women, which were difficult, but still they did stick to their aim and achieved what they wanted to. As a child, I heard about Chipko movement and I was highly impressed by it. When I grew up, I realized it was a movement that was led by women. Concerned with the preservation of ecological balance, the Chipko movement in the state of Uttarakhand, then it was Uttar Pradesh, started in early 70s. The protesters were against the government's policy of handling out contracts to industrial giants to utilize forest products for making profits. The movement had started off under the leadership of a village social organization, Dasauli Gram Swarajya Sangh. However, despite repeated protests, the forest department went ahead and auctioned out the forests. While the social organizations planned out demonstrations against the auction, the local government conspired to keep all the male activists away from the region. In the absence of men, it was the women of the village who took it upon themselves to step out of their homes and face the industrialists head on. Gaura Devi, a middle aged woman, was one to spot the men of the company who came to cut the trees. She immediately mobilized around 30 women to lead the movement, challenging the men to first shoot her down before touching the trees. She forced them to retreat. Soon after, the state government investigated the case and withdrew the company from the forest. This incident sparkled off similar movements in other parts of the sub-Himalayan region. While Chipko movement was primarily a protest demanding ecological protection, the involvement of women in the forefront gave it an added advantage of women asking for a stronger representation in decision making. There was an anti-liquor movement that was started in Andhra Pradesh. In early 90s, when women in rural Andhra Pradesh took it upon themselves to fight against liquor dependency among their men, and the subsequent verbal, physical, and emotional abuse that followed, they had just one simple demand: no drinking or selling liquor. Led by a woman called Sandhya, the movement began as a dharna, followed by a demand to stop the sale of liquor in the village. When the liquor packets reached the sales counter, women rushed and destroyed them. They even approached the chief minister with their demand. But when they realized that no official is listening to them and no official person, including the chief minister, they decided to reform their men on the home front. Soon enough, they declared that any man found drinking would have his head shaved, and anyone selling liquor would be marched to the village on a donkey. The women-led struggle ultimately led to a statewide ban on liquor in 1995. This method they used was neither Gandhian nor Marxian, but unique in their own way. So we see what women can do together and what women can achieve. The only thing is we have to be firm. We have to be firm, and we have to sit down, and we have to decide what we want to do. Today we want a world that is filled with peace, but will we be able to achieve it without the support of women? We need more women peace builders. We need more women leaders. Although we have a lot of them, but still we need more, because without the participation of women, we cannot have peace in the world. We cannot get rid of the war. Quoting Mahatma Gandhi again, women whom we call abla, the weak, when become sabla, the empowered, all those powerless become empowered. To call them abla is to condemn the inherent strength of women. It is an insult to them. As Vanna Shiva, an eminent environmental activist, says, we are either going to have a future where women lead the way to make peace with the earth, or we are not going to have a human future at all. Let us all get together. Let us all make this world a better place to live in. Let us walk a long way together to empower women and make this world a peaceful world. Thank you, Swati. And thank you for listening so patiently.
Thank you so much, Kenuji, for this wonderful talk that you have wonderfully depicted with the historical facts for Indian women. And more, this kind of motivation is being needed. We have an enriched history, but somehow we are not going to nourish and nurture this particular historical facts of the participation of women full-fledgedly. That's why it is being distracted. Thank you so much, first of all. And here I would like to quote one very important quotation by Swami Vivekananda. There is no chance of welfare of the world unless the condition of women is improved. It is not impossible. It is not impossible to fly for a bird with wings. So it is not possible for a bird to fly on one wing. So one wings here, he would like to mention that in a society we need more and more participation from both the gender. Gender equality means men and women participation as a whole. Here, I would like to stop myself, and I would really love to have words from Kenuji with the Thanksgiving. So, Kenuji, the floor is yours.
Before I thank all of you, I would like to give a few minutes for the participants if they have any questions or any queries. So if they have any questions to any of the speakers, or there is, so they can come up with the questions. They can put their question in the chat. Anything they would like to ask?
No question, no question in the chat. Yes, Kanchanji, please.
I would like to thank Swatiji for her wonderful moderation and Kenuji, and your question regarding how IRD can play a role in to combat the sex selective abortions or the declining sex ratio. I think you and Kenuji and Camellia are IID specialists, and they can give more appropriate answer. But according to me, I would like to take insight from Camellia that religion is to keep us away from the sins. But in the name of the religion, we commit a number of sins. So in even in this case, we can see that the religion has a lot to do with the aversion towards the daughters. So I think as NEG has discussed in her presentation, and Camellia, we have lot to take away from other religions, and that could be that could play a pivotal role in, like, if we go to the census of 2011, the lowest sex ratios are from Hindu, Sikh, and Jainis. The Christians, Muslims, and Buddhists, they have generally the better sex ratio conditions in our country. So I think IRD can play a very good role. Like when we sit, as we know that dialogue is a two-way process. It is not that it's only me who's speaking. We are just learning from the other perspective as well. So like women commission or the other religions, what we can take away from that, that this menace could be control. And moreover, the responsibility on our generation is more. As we have our children, we can teach them the importance and the equality. We can shun away the stereotypes and labeling, like I'm all against this pink and blue concept. And these are the things how we can come up to the solution for this low sex ratio and sex selective abortion or gender discrimination. This is what I think. I'm open for the
Thank
more
you so much,
recommendations.
Kanchanji. Thank you. Yes, you have pointed out very correctly. Thank you for remembering my question, first of all. Thank you. Though the time is limiting, that's why I'm just hand over the session to Kenuji for Thanksgiving.
Yes, Kanchan, you're so true that IRD can really play an important role in sex balancing. For this session, first of all, I would like to thank KAICIID for giving us an opportunity to organize this webinar. I would also like to thank the Indian KFN team, the KFN India team, which has supported us throughout in the organization of the webinar, and all the speakers, Camellia, Annie, and Kanchan, for giving us an insight of women empowerment. Swati has been playing a very, very, very important role throughout, from the beginning till now. I thank you, Swati, so much. And thanks to all the participants for patiently listening to the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I would also like to mention here that it is not, this is the first webinar that we are holding. We'll be having, because our aim is to involve more women in the process of peace building and harmony. And we'll be holding training sessions on the 29th and 30th of this month. So we will be having speakers from international platforms. So whoever wants to join can join our 29th and 30th November session. We're also having an IRD, an international conference by Indian KFN on 10th of December. So you can join us there also. That will be related to quality education. So that will also be, Swati is going to host that also. So you're all welcome to join those sessions also. And thank you again. And sorry if we have missed out on anything. So thank you again. Thank you to all of you.
Thank you so much
So
for
much.
IRD
Thank
and
I
all of
personally thank you, Natalie, because without her particular initiative, we couldn't able to continue. So I thank you, Natalie, also, and her organization in US. And here in the chat box, we can able to see lots of participants are giving thanks to all the speakers and their insightful talks. Latifi Hafiz from Afghanistan. Greetings to all from Afghanistan. Very informative webinar. Thanks to all presenters and organizer. So this kind of webinar, we will continue definitely with our journey, and we are very small, but with this small, we can definitely bring some kind of changes. Annie, please, excuse me for stopping you. Please continue.
No, I would just like to thank the IRD and Swati ji and Kinu ji for giving this opportunity. This is the first time I have come in contact with you all, but it was a wonderful experience, and I hope to be in touch with you again. Thank you so
I would
much.
also like to mention here that we had lots of students from Delhi who had joined the webinar, and it's something new to them. So it's a great pleasure for me that not only from people from different parts of the world and from different parts of the country have joined, but some students are also taking interest in our activities. So that's a great future that I see ahead. And I see Dr. Bahar, although it was difficult for him, but he has been there throughout the session. So that's a great encouragement. Thank you.
It's a small logistic announcement again to fill out the feedback form. That is very important for all the presenters and particularly the participants, not for the speakers. This is the announcement for the participants who have participated. Please fill out the feedback form so you can have your e-certificate very soon. Thank you so much and have a wonderful evening, all of you. Take care.
Take care all.